Welcome back to CBS Mornings here at 8:30. We are very excited about our next guest, Judd Apatow. He's the comedic brain behind some of the funniest movies from the past 2 decades. Dozens of hits: Superbad, Knocked Up, 40-Year-Old Virgin, Bridesmaids, and I'm just naming a few. The scroll could be endless, really. His new book is called Sicker in the Head: More Conversations About Life and Comedy. It features honest, open, and very funny interviews with stars like David Letterman, Mindy Kaling, and Pete Davidson. And Judd joins us now. We're very happy about that.
Yeah.
There's a follow-up to Sick in the Head, which was terrific.
Thank you.
The only difference between Sick in the Head and Sicker in the Head, which is also terrific, is this is almost exclusively pandemic conversation. So a lot of it's over Zoom, right?
That's right. And Gayle King is in it.
I don't know how she made the cut.
I learned a lot, actually. I went right to that.
That's the first place I went. I looked for that section.
And you know what? That's the only part I didn't read. I didn't want to read. I didn't want to read.
Very well. I mean, I like to interview comedians, obviously, because that's what I do. But also, we have a few random people. You, Roger Daltrey, Jeff
you're
Tweedy,
random.
Just people who are, in, media, in the arts.
It was an interesting mix. It was an interesting mix. I thought it was interesting that you decided to do it during the pandemic because you said you wanted to laugh, you wanted a lifeline. What were you trying to do?
Well, also I just wanted to talk to people.
Yeah.
You're not going to talk to me for 2 hours if I just go, hey, Gayle, you want to talk for 2 hours? I'm lonely in the pandemic.
But I am writing a book.
So it did give me an opportunity, to do another book, and it's for charity. It's for Dave Eggers' 826 charity, which provides free tutoring for underprivileged kids. So how else can I get Lin-Manuel Miranda and David Letterman to talk to me? And I want to know the answers,
and
too.
to learn stuff.
Right, exactly. Right.
That's the thing.
Your first book was your education in comedy. You started doing the interviews as a teenager.
Yeah.
You're now a name in and of itself in comedy. Are you still learning things from these conversations?
Yeah. I mean, every interview, I'm trying to figure something out. Like Sacha Baron Cohen, I want to know, why do you do that? It's so dangerous and so fascinating. And actually, how do you get it done? Lin-Manuel Miranda, I always wanted to ask him, after Hamilton, how do you not lock up? Yeah. How do you not go, I'm afraid to follow that? Look how much he's done since then. So I'm trying to figure that stuff out.
And I learned in that piece that Lin was in The Sopranos. I thought that was so interesting. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
Lin-Manuel Miranda he said it was so bad that you could see him physically looking to find his mark where he had to be, looking in the camera. It was great. You know what also I thought was fun, Judd? With every interview, you also seem to reveal something about yourself. Because I went, oh, I didn't know that about Judd.
Yes.
Was that your intention too?
Well, I try to share my life. There's an autobiographical aspect of the book, and I think when I share something about something that happened to me, then people share. Sometimes when I'm doing the interviews, I'm sharing a lot of the same stuff to everyone. I have to cut it out of some of the interviews because I'm interested in why people want to be creative. What happened to you that made you the kind of person that wants to go into comedy?
So the question of what happened to you is actually an interesting one. You talked to Gary Goldman. You did a whole hour with him. He talks about depression. And then in your conversation with David Letterman, he points out that they see the same psychiatrist, also depressed, right?
Yeah.
So
I have to get that number.
Please share it with the group.
With all of us,
He's clearly the guy.
And then we just heard Hannah Gadsby talk about the pain that all comedians...
Hannah's in the book.
Yeah, Hannah's in the book, too. So, I mean, is there something about comedy and pain that is true, or is it just a cliche? Or both?
I think if you come from some sort of childhood trauma of some kind, you become empathetic, you become a watcher. You also wonder why the system isn't working for you, and you start breaking apart. What is happening? Why is this all so hard? And I think that kind of builds a comedian's mind.
But you also write, without comedy, you don't know if you would have survived, that you see it. Were you going to say that?
Yeah, I was going to say that, Gayle. Because a lot of your characters in your films and in your shows are in situations that a lot of people would find painful. We were talking about Freaks and Geeks and the archetypes of being young and being bullied. But you find the comedy in that trauma, which is in some ways autobiographical with what you've experienced.
Yeah, I mean, one of my mentors is David Milch, who created Deadwood. And he always had this quote, which I don't know the exact quote, but it is about turning the bad stuff into gold. And I think as a comedy person, the one good thing about it is when bad things happen, you're not just bummed. You're like, this might be useful. This is fodder for something, and it does make life a little easier.
But isn't that the mind of a comedian? In other words, the rest of us go, well, this sucks, and then we go home and we cry about it. And, we're all depressed. But
that's all we do.
Right? That's all we do. Comedians say, wait. This is gold, Jerry.
Well, so on the subject of gold, we heard Jim Carrey talk about the Oscars last night, saying he thought Hollywood was spineless.
And we should also say Jim Carrey didn't come here to do that.
Yeah, he was talking about Sonic the Hedgehog.
Just like you came here to promote, may I mention? Sicker in the Head.
I'm going to promote Sonic the Hedgehog right now.
You just
didn't cover it enough.
You just happen to be here on this particular day.
He said that he would have woken up and sued Will Smith for $200 million. Another thing he might do is wake up and write a set about the experience, right?
Yeah, I mean, everybody handles those things differently. I mean, we're concerned about violence in all its forms, and we don't want to say to people, when you have conflict, that's the way you do it. So it's great that he apologized, because a lot of people look up to him and they aspire to behave like he behaves.
What's your response, Judd, to how Hollywood is handling it? You know, Jim pointed out that he got a standing ovation, that so far there have been no consequences for Will Smith. And how do you suppose Chris Rock is feeling today? But I want to get your reaction to the response, Hollywood's response to it so far.
Well, Hollywood doesn't really respond to anything. So, I mean, if you just look at any issue, Hollywood doesn't really respond. I wish I could say that they did.
Do you think he should have been allowed to stay in the ceremony?
I don't know. I don't have an opinion about that. But I just think, like, people really shouldn't look for, like, the best moral, ethical response from the community of Hollywood. And I'm part of it, but I see them very slow to make any kind of a choice.
I wonder, though, where do we go from here? And as a comedian, I just worry that has the door been opened if you see somebody saying something you don't like, that it opens the door to people think, well, it has happened. Will Smith did it. Does it make it okay?
It's already a time when people don't feel they can be completely honest. Like, it's not okay to just be wrong, let alone be funny and distasteful in some way.
Yeah. Well, people are on edge, right?
Yes.
It's been a hard couple of years.
People are on hair triggers. It's true.
Everybody's a little afraid, and it feels like that is also part of what we're seeing everywhere. Like, everyone is just a little off their game. But I think his apology was great if people read it.
I was glad he apologized.
And I hope that people read it and pay attention to it, because it is how we all should be thinking about it.
Yes, I was very glad he apologized. And before you go, what's it like being Judd Apatow's dad?
Right now?
Yeah. Maude, his daughter, is on Euphoria.
Big star, did you know?
She's killing it. Killing it.
I cannot watch it as a father, though, because
it's very dark.
She's the good girl. That's what we like. She's the good girl. We don't want to hear what next season is, but she's the good girl as to the end of season 2. I mean, we're so proud of her. The work is so strong, and the show is so great. And I was trending the other day on Twitter because no one knew who I was. And people discovered that I was Maude's dad, and then everyone on Twitter was like, who's he? And I thought, well, that means I parented well, because the next generation and her and Iris, who's in The Bubble, our movie that comes out this Friday on Netflix, they're better than me and Leslie, and that's what we wanted as parents, is to be surpassed.
Yes, Leslie Mann is your wife.
Yes, she's amazing.
Did you encourage your daughters to get into this business?
They
or were they looking at mom and dad?
They were like little tiny pint-sized comedians.
I mean, it's weird, because the reason why they're in Knocked Up is I just didn't want to hang out with other people's children. You know, so it's either like some strange person's children or my strange children.
But you could actually manage them a little better.
Exactly. So, I mean, in the beginning, I was just like, you know, seat belting them, giving them bacon, and then they would just sit there while we did scenes, and they would just improvise with us. And now it's actual acting and art, and they've gotten very, very strong.
And you've been surpassed, as you always wanted.
Well, congrats.
I don't think
Congrats to a great family, and another bestseller for you is my prediction.
Because of the Gayle King inclusion.
Yes, great comedic mind of our time.
Yeah, that's me. Sicker in the Head. That title's interesting, too. Sicker in the Head is on sale now, wherever you like to buy your books. And, Judd, you're going to be at the 92nd Street Y this Thursday.
Yes, with Rami Youssef.
Yes, nice. So if you're looking for something to do in New York, there you go. And his new Netflix film is called The Bubble. It premieres on Friday.